The great hall of Station Harmony was built to make visitors feel small. Its ceiling rose so high that clouds sometimes formed near the top. Its walls were covered with the flags of 1,000 species, each one a member of the Galactic Council, and at its center, arranged in a perfect circle, sat the representatives of the most powerful civilizations in known space. Admiral Porchdoyan had walked these halls for 15 years. He remembered his first day here, when he was just a young officer escorting the diplomatic team. He had looked up at those flags and felt hope. Humanity had finally joined something bigger than itself. They were no longer alone in the universe. That hope had died slowly, year by year, insult by insult. He stood now at the back of the human delegation, his uniform perfect, his face calm. Ambassador Yoon Jisoo sat at the main table, her hands folded in front of her. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent 30 years of her life trying to make peace with species who did not want peace. They wanted submission. The Veluxy Primarch was speaking. He was a tall creature, almost 3 meters high, with skin like polished metal and eyes that glowed soft blue. His species had ruled this part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. They did not see humans as equals. They barely saw humans at all. The border incidents were caused by human aggression, the Primarch said, his voice filling the hall. Your colony ships entered Veluxy space without permission. Our defense forces responded appropriately. Ambassador Yoon did not react. She had heard this lie many times before. The truth was simple. Human colonies had existed in the Outer Rim for 200 years. The Veluxy had decided those systems belonged to them. When humans refused to leave, the Veluxy had attacked. 12,000 humans had died. The Council had called it a regrettable misunderstanding. With respect, Primarch, Yoon said, her voice steady. Our colonies were established long before Veluxy claims to those systems. We have provided documentation of this to the Council. The Kreth ambassador made a sound like grinding rocks. The Kreth were a silicon-based species, their bodies made of living crystal. They had allied with the Veluxy centuries ago, and they shared their allies' opinion of humanity. Documentation means nothing, the Kreth said. Humans are newcomers to this galaxy. You have existed for barely a moment compared to the great civilizations. Your claims are the claims of children demanding adult privileges. A ripple of agreement moved through the council. Park Do-yeon watched the other delegates nod their heads, or whatever body parts they used for agreement. The Silith fluttered their wings. The Marathi clicked their mandibles. The message was clear. Humanity did not matter. Ambassador Yoon remained calm. She had expected this. She reached for her datapad and pulled up the proposal she had spent months preparing. The human government offers the following terms for peace, she said. We will accept joint administration of the disputed systems. We will reduce our military presence in the Outer Rim by 40%. We will open our borders to Veluxy traders and accept Veluxy observers on our colony worlds. In exchange, we ask only for formal recognition of our remaining territorial claims and compensation for the families of those who died in the attacks. It was a generous offer. It gave the Veluxy almost everything they wanted. Park Do-yeon hated it, but he understood the necessity. Humanity could not win a war against the entire galaxy. The Primarch did not even pretend to consider the offer. These terms are unacceptable, he said. Humans must withdraw from all disputed systems entirely. Your military presence in the Outer Rim must be reduced to 0. Your border defenses must be dismantled so that Council inspection teams may ensure compliance. I would leave our colonies defenseless, Yoon said quietly. Your colonies exist at the pleasure of this Council, the Primarch replied. You should be grateful we allow them to exist at all. Somewhere in the hall, someone laughed. It was a Silith, a beautiful creature with wings like stained glass. Park Do-yeon had met her before. Her name was Yethrix, and she was one of the more moderate voices on the council. But even she was laughing. Ambassador Yoon sat very still. Park Do-yeon had known her for 20 years. He had never seen her angry, but he saw something change in her eyes at that moment. Something that had been holding on finally let go. She stood up slowly. The hall fell silent. I have served as humanity's ambassador to this council for 30 years, she said. In that time, I have offered 47 proposals for peace. Each one has been rejected. I have accepted insults to my species, my government, and myself. I have smiled while you called us children. I have bowed while you dismissed our dead as acceptable losses. Her voice was not loud, but it carried through the great hall like thunder.
Today.
I am done. She picked up her datapad and turned to the human delegation. We are leaving. All of us. Now. Park Do-yan felt his heart skip. This was not in the plan. But he had waited 15 years for someone to say those words. Ambassador, the Primarch said, you cannot simply leave. These negotiations are not concluded. Yoon looked at him. For the first time in 30 years, she did not bow. She did not smile. She simply looked at him like he was a small and unimportant thing. Yes, she said. They are. The human delegation rose as one. 30 diplomats, 15 military advisors, and a support staff of 200. They walked out of the Great Hall in perfect silence. Within 6 hours, every human diplomat in the galaxy received the same order. Return home immediately. No explanations. No farewells. Just leave. On Station Harmony, the Council watched the human ships depart. The Primarch dismissed them with a wave of his metallic hand. They will return, he said. They always do. They are weak. They need us. Counselor Yethrix watched the last human ship disappear into fold space. Something bothered her. She had studied humans for many years. She knew their history, their wars, their strange and violent nature. Humans did not simply give up. When they stopped talking, it meant something else entirely. But she said nothing. The council moved on to other business, and the empty human chairs were quickly forgotten. They would remember soon enough. 3 months passed, and the galaxy barely noticed that humanity was gone. Trade Representative Kang Murray had spent 20 years building relationships with alien merchants. She had learned 17 languages, memorized the customs of 100 species, and earned the trust of traders across the galaxy. Her work had made humanity rich. Human goods were popular on alien worlds. Human technology was cheap and reliable. Human ships delivered their cargo on time. Now she sat in her office on Earth, watching reports come in from across human space. Every trade agreement she had built was being canceled. Every contract she had negotiated was being terminated. Human merchants were coming home with their ships empty and their accounts closed. She was not sad. She was not angry. She was busy. The Veluxi have placed an order for 2 million medical units, her assistant said, reading from a datapad. Standard terms, payment on delivery. Decline it, Myri said without looking up. They are offering double the usual price. Decline it. Her assistant hesitated. Representative Kang, our medical manufacturing sector depends on that contract. If we decline, thousands of workers will need to be reassigned. Ray finally looked up. She was a stern woman with cold eyes and a reputation for being impossible to negotiate with. The aliens had learned that early. They had respected her for it. All those workers have already been reassigned, she said. Check the production schedules. Her assistant pulled up the schedules and went pale. The medical manufacturing facilities had been converted. They were now producing something else entirely. Something that required the same precision engineering but served a very different purpose. Are those ... double quotes, the assistant began. You did not see that, Murray said. Return to your work, cross human space. Similar conversations were happening. Factory managers received new orders. Research stations changed their focus. Colony ships that had been designed to carry settlers were being modified to carry soldiers. Defense. Minister Beek Suho oversaw all of it from his office in the heart of Earth's government district. He was an old man now, with white hair and a face carved by decades of difficult decisions. He had served in the military for 40 years before entering politics. He had seen wars begin and end. He knew what was coming. His assistant entered with the daily report. Sir, the Kreth Dominion has sent another diplomatic message. They are demanding an explanation for our withdrawal. File it with the others. Suho said. That makes 47 unanswered communications from Council. Species, then file 47. Assistant shifted uncomfortably. Sir, some members of Parliament are concerned. They say we should at least respond. The silence is making the galaxy nervous. Suho leaned back in his chair and smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Good, he said. Let them be nervous. Let them wonder. Let them imagine what we might be doing behind our closed borders. He pulled up a holographic display of human space. It looked different now than it had 3 months ago. The scattered colonies had been connected by new supply lines. The defensive stations had been reinforced. The patrol routes had been optimized for rapid response. The galaxy thought we were weak, Suho said quietly. They thought we came to them begging for peace because we had no other choice. They were wrong. He dismissed the display and turned back to his work. There were production quotas to review, training schedules to approve, and weapons designs to evaluate. So much to do and so little time to do it. Meanwhile, on the border of human space, something strange was happening. Captain Shinyanji commanded the patrol vessel, Morning Star. She had served on the border for 10 years. Watching alien ships come and go, maintaining the peaceful relations that her government demanded, she had hated every moment of it. Now she watched the Kreth diplomatic vessel approach her position. It was a beautiful ship, all crystal and light, carrying some important ambassador who wanted to visit Earth. Morning Star, this is the Kreth vessel, Eternal Light. The communication came through. We request passage through human territory. We carried diplomatic credentials from the Galactic Council. Yunji took her time responding. She checked her sensors, reviewed her orders, and made the Kreth wait. Finally, she opened a channel. Eternal Light, this is Morning Star. Human space is currently closed to all foreign vessels. Please return to Council territory. There was a long pause. Morning Star, you must be mistaken. We are a diplomatic vessel. We have rights of passage under the Treaty of Harmony. The Treaty of Harmony requires both parties to participate in good faith diplomatic relations, Yunji replied. Humanity has withdrawn from those relations. Your rights of passage are suspended. Another pause. Longer this time. This is unacceptable. We demand to speak with your superiors. I am the authority in this sector, Yunji said. My orders are clear. No foreign vessels are permitted in human space. You may leave peacefully, or you may be escorted out. The choice is yours. The Kreth vessel tried 3 more times to argue. Each time, Yunji repeated the same words. Eventually, the crystal ship turned and retreated back into Council space. Eung watched it go and allowed herself a small smile. For 10 years, she had been ordered to be polite, to bow, to accommodate. Now she had different orders. On the Veluxi homeworld, reports of the incident reached the Primarch within hours. He dismissed it as human stubbornness. They are throwing a tantrum, he told his advisors. They will open their borders soon. Their economy cannot survive without our trade. Its intelligence chief was not so certain. Primarch, our economic projections showed that human space is actually becoming more productive, not less. They appear to be redirecting their resources. Redirecting them where? The intelligence chief did not have an answer. Human space had become invisible. Their communications were encrypted. Their ships stayed within their borders. Their people had simply stopped talking to the rest of the galaxy. The silence was absolute, and it was terrifying. Councilor. Yethrix of the Silith, Concordat, felt that terror growing in her heart. She had requested access to all available intelligence on human activities. What she found made her sleepless. The humans were not collapsing. They were not suffering. They were building something. And whatever it was, they did not want the galaxy to see it until they were ready. She tried to warn the Council. They did not listen. The great civilizations of the galaxy had ruled for 10,000 years. They could not imagine that a young species like humanity could pose any real threat. Yethrix knew they were wrong. She had read too much human history to believe otherwise. She knew what humans did when they felt threatened. She knew what happened when they stopped trying to make peace. But all she could do was watch and wait. Like everyone else, for humanity to reveal what they had been building in the darkness. 6 months after the withdrawal, the first cracks appeared in the galaxy's confidence. The Marathi Trade Federation was the first to feel the pain. Their economy depended on human electronics. Human manufacturers had built their computers, their communication systems, their navigation equipment. Without those supplies, Marathi ships were breaking down. Their factories were going silent. Their merchants were going bankrupt. The Federation sent desperate messages to human space. They offered triple prices. They offered political support. They offered anything humanity wanted. The humans did not respond. On the Voloxy homeworld, Primarch was facing problems of his own. His military had relied on human fuel cells for decades. They were cheap, efficient, and reliable. Voloxy engineers had never bothered to develop alternatives. Why would they? Humans were always happy to sell. Now those fuel cells were running out. And Voloxy warships were being grounded one by one. Find another supplier. The Primarch ordered his ministers. There is no other supplier, his industrial minister replied. The humans dominated this market. No other species can produce fuel cells of comparable quality at comparable cost. Then build our own factories. That would take years, Primarch. Decades, perhaps. The humans have been refining this technology for generations. The Primarch slammed his metallic fist against his throne, then forced them to resume trade. Send our fleet to their borders. Make them understand. His military advisor stepped forward carefully. Primarch, I must counsel caution. Our intelligence suggests that the humans have significantly expanded their military capabilities during their period of isolation. Expanded how? The advisor brought up a holographic display. It showed the human border, marked with the positions of their patrol vessels and defensive stations. 6 months ago, there had been perhaps 1,000 ships defending human space. Now there were 5,000. This is impossible, the Primarch said. They cannot have built this many ships in 6 months. We believe they converted their civilian fleet, the advisor said. Their cargo ships, their colony transports, their mining vessels, all of them have been modified for military use. The Primarch stared at the display. For the first time in his long life, he felt something like uncertainty. They are bluffing, he said finally. Converted civilian ships cannot match our war fleet. Perhaps not, his advisor agreed. But they do not need to match us. They only need to make victory too expensive. In Primarch there is something else. He adjusted the display to show a region of space deep within human territory. It was marked with a red warning symbol. Our long-range sensors detected unusual activity in this area 3 weeks ago. Energy signatures consistent with heavy weapons testing. Since then, the humans have increased their encryption. We can no longer see anything in that region.
What are they building?
We do not know. The Primarch dismissed his advisors and sat alone in his throne room. He had ruled the Voloxy Dominion for 200 years. He had crushed rebellions, conquered worlds, and bent the galaxy to his will. He was not accustomed to fear, but something cold was growing in his heart. Something that whispered warnings he did not want to hear. Meanwhile, on Station Harmony, Counselor Yithrix was making her own discoveries. She had spent 6 months studying everything she could find about humanity. Their history, their culture, their wars. She had read accounts of their conflicts, translated their literature, and analyzed their psychology. What she found terrified her. Humans were not like other species. Most civilizations in the galaxy had evolved to avoid conflict. They had developed complex social structures to prevent violence, intricate diplomatic protocols to resolve disputes peacefully. War was a last resort, something to be avoided at all costs. Humans were different. They had evolved in a world of constant competition, where survival required aggression and violence was simply part of life. They had fought wars throughout their history. Wars of such scale and brutality that other species could barely comprehend them. But that was not what frightened Yethrix. What frightened her was what humans did before. They went to war. She had found a pattern in their history. Before every major conflict, there was a period of silence. Humans would stop talking, stop negotiating, stop engaging with their enemies. They would turn inward, focus their resources, prepare their people, and then, when they were ready, they would strike with overwhelming force. Yethrix requested an emergency meeting of the council. To her surprise, several other species had requested the same thing. The Great Hall was fuller than she had ever seen it. The Marathi representative spoke first. Our economy is collapsing. We need human goods. We need to resume trade. The Kreth ambassador waved dismissively. Then send your ships to take what you need. The humans cannot stop all of us. That would be an act of war, the Marathi replied. We do not want war with humanity. Then you are cowards. Yethrix stood up. May I speak? The hall fell silent. The Silith were not a powerful species, but they were respected for their wisdom. The council allowed her to continue. I have spent 6 months studying humanity, she said. I believe I understand what is happening, and I believe we are in grave danger. She activated a display showing human space. Red markers indicated military buildup, industrial conversion, and communications blackout. The humans have not withdrawn from the galaxy because they are weak, she said. They have withdrawn because they are preparing for war, the Kreth ambassador laughed. War with whom? They are a single species. We are 1,000. That has never stopped them before, Yethrix replied. In their history, humans have fought wars against enemies who vastly outnumbered them. They have lost millions of their own people and continued fighting. They do not surrender. They do not give up. They fight until they win or until they are destroyed completely. She looked around the hall at the assembled delegates. Most of them were not taking her seriously. They had never faced a species like humanity. When humans stop talking, Yethrix continued, it means they have decided that talking is useless. It means they have accepted that violence is the only remaining option. It means they are preparing to fight. The Primarch's representative stood up. You are being dramatic. Humanity is a young species. They cannot threaten the combined might of the Council, can they not? Yethrix brought up another display. It showed production statistics, military growth, population mobilization. In 6 months, humanity has tripled their military capacity. They have converted their entire economy to war production. They have mobilized their population for conflict. Every day that passes, they grow stronger. She deactivated the display and looked directly at the Primarch's representative. We insulted them. We dismissed their dead. We laughed at their requests for justice. And now, they are no longer asking. They are preparing to take what we refuse to give. The hall was silent. For the first time, some of the delegates were beginning to understand. What do you suggest we do? The Marathi representative asked quietly. Yethrix shook her head. I do not know if there is anything we can do. We have shown humanity that we do not respect them. We have taught them that diplomacy is worthless. We have given them no reason to trust us and every reason to hate us. She sat down slowly, suddenly feeling very old. I believe humanity has already declared war. We simply were not paying attention when they did. 1 year after the withdrawal, humanity returned to the galaxy. Strategic Commander Otihi stood in the command center of the flagship Eternal Dawn, watching her displays light up with the signatures of 40,000 ships emerging from fold space. It was the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Every vessel was armed, fueled, and ready for battle. She was 42 years old. She had joined the military at 18, served in the Outer Rim colonies, and lost her brother in the Veluxi attacks. For years she had followed orders to be peaceful, to be patient, to accept the insults of species who saw humanity as nothing more than useful servants. Those orders had changed. All ships report ready, her tactical officer said. Fleet is in formation. Hold position, T, he ordered. We wait for the ambassador. On the diplomatic vessel Silent Dawn, Ambassador Yoon Ji-soo prepared her message. She had spent a year in isolation working with Earth's government to plan this moment. Every word had been chosen carefully. Every detail had been considered. She was no longer the patient diplomat who had bowed to alien insults for 30 years. She was something else now. Something harder. Admiral Park Doyen stood beside her, his uniform covered with medals he had never wanted to earn. The fleet is in position. 40,000 ships, all armed and ready. Are you certain about this? Yoon looked at him with eyes that had seen too much. I am certain. We gave them every chance to treat us as equals. They refused. Now we will show them what that refusal has cost them. She activated the communication system and broadcast to Station Harmony. This is Ambassador Yoon Ji-soo of the United Earth Government. I am transmitting the following terms to the Galactic Council. These are not negotiations. These are requirements. On Station Harmony, the Council scrambled to respond. The Primarch himself had traveled to the station when reports of the human fleet reached Veluxy space. He had not believed them. He had thought they were exaggerations, mistakes, propaganda. Now he stood in the Great Hall, watching the sensor displays that showed 40,000 human vessels arranged in perfect formation. His metallic skin had lost its polish. His glowing eyes had dimmed with something that might have been fear. This is impossible, he whispered. They cannot have built such a fleet. Counselor Yethric stood nearby, her wings folded tight against her body. I tried to warn you, she said quietly. I told you what humans do when they stop talking. Ambassador's message played throughout the hall. First requirement, the Galactic Council will formally recognize all human territorial claims in the Outer Rim. This includes the systems we have inhabited for 200 years and the systems where our people were murdered by Veluxy forces, Primarch's hands clenched into fists. Second requirement, full financial compensation will be paid to the families of the 12,000 humans who died in the Veluxy attacks. The amount will be determined by human assessors, and the payment will be completed within 1 galactic year. Murmurs spread through the hall. The compensation would bankrupt entire species. Third requirement, humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council with complete voting rights. We will no longer accept observer status. We will no longer accept advisory positions. We will be equals, or we will be enemies. The murmurs grew louder. Several delegates rose from their seats in protest. Fourth requirement, the Veluxy Primarch will travel to Earth personally and deliver a formal apology for the attacks on human colonies. This apology will be broadcast throughout the galaxy. The hall exploded in outrage. The Primarch himself, leading a delegation to apologize to a species he had called children, it was unthinkable. It was humiliating. These terms are non-negotiable, the ambassador continued. You have 72 hours to accept them. If you do not accept, humanity will implement these terms by force. The transmission ended. The hall fell into chaos. Back on the Eternal Dawn, Commander Otihi watched the sensor displays showing the Council's reaction. Alien ships were mobilizing throughout Council space. Military forces were being recalled from distant sectors. The great civilizations of the galaxy were preparing to fight. Do you think they will accept? Her tactical officer asked. Tay, he thought about her brother. She thought about the colony where he had died, burned to ash by Veluxy weapons. She thought about the council meetings, where his death had been called an acceptable loss. I hope they do, she said. But I do not expect them to. She turned to face her bridge crew. They were young men and women who had grown up in a galaxy that despised them. They had trained for years, prepared for this moment, accepted that they might die for a species that most aliens considered worthless. If war comes, Teehee said, we will not start it, but we will end it. That is our duty. That is our promise to the 12,000 who died in the Outer Rim. We will make their sacrifice mean something. On Station Harmony, the council debated through the night. The Kreth demanded immediate attack. The Marathi pleaded for acceptance. The Silith urged caution. The Veluxy said nothing, their Primarch sitting in silence as his empire crumbled around him. Defense Minister Beek Suho watched the debates from Earth, his face expressionless. He had prepared for this moment for a year. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier had been positioned according to his plans. They will not accept, he said to his aide. They cannot accept. Their pride will not allow it, and if they attack, Suho smiled grimly, then they will learn what humanity is capable of. They have seen our fleet. They have not seen our weapons. They have not seen what we built in the darkness while they were laughing at our weakness. He pulled up a display showing a region of space deep within human territory. The red warning symbols had been replaced by green activation lights. Project Dawn is ready, Suho said. If they want war, we will give them war they cannot imagine. The hours ticked away. 72 became 60. 60 became 48. The galaxy held its breath. On Station Harmony, the Primarch finally spoke. His voice was hoarse, his body slumped in his throne. If we refuse, he asked his advisors, what will happen? His military commander stepped forward. We would face a war against a species that has spent a year preparing for exactly this conflict. Their fleet outnumbers our combined forces. Their weapons are unknown, but appear advanced. Their population is fully mobilized. Can we win? The commander hesitated. We could inflict significant casualties. We could make them pay dearly for every system they take. But win? He shook his head slowly. I do not believe so. The Primarch closed his eyes. He had ruled for 200 years. He had never imagined it would end like this, brought low by a species he had dismissed as children. And we have no choice, he said. Inform the council. We accept the terms. The message was transmitted with 2 hours remaining. On the eternal dawn, Commander Otihi received the notification. She felt something loosen in her chest, something she had been carrying since her brother's death. All ships stand down, she ordered. The council has accepted. There will be no war today. She looked out at the stars, at the vast fleet that humanity had built in silence and darkness. Today, she whispered to herself, but we are ready now. If they ever forget again, we will be ready. The Veluxi Primarch arrived on Earth. 3 weeks after the acceptance, his ship descended through blue skies and white clouds. Landing on a field outside the city of Seoul, millions of humans watched from the surrounding hills. From the windows of tall buildings, from screens across the planet, they were silent. They did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They simply watched Ambassador Yoon Ji-soo waited at the landing field with Admiral Park. Doyen and the leaders of Earth's government, she had dressed simply, without ceremony or decoration. She wanted the Primarch to see her as she truly was. A woman who had waited 30 years for this moment. The Primarch emerged from his ship slowly. He had ruled the Veluxi Dominion for 2 centuries. He had conquered worlds and crushed rebellions. He had never bowed to anyone. Today, he would bow. He walked across the field to where Yoon stood. His metallic skin had lost its shine. His glowing eyes were dim. He looked old in a way that transcended age, broken in a way that could not be repaired. I am here, he said. As required, Yoon nodded. The broadcast is ready. The galaxy is watching. The Primarch straightened his shoulders and faced the cameras. His voice, when he spoke, was steady. Whatever else he was not a coward. I speak to the people of Earth and to the citizens of the galaxy. 1 year ago, forces under my command attacked human colonies in the Outer Rim. 12,000 innocent people died in those attacks. I ordered those attacks. I called those deaths acceptable. He paused. The silence stretched across the planet. I was wrong. The attacks were not justified. The deaths were not acceptable. They were murders committed against a peaceful people who had done nothing to deserve such violence. His eyes found Yoon Ji-soo in the crowd. She watched him without expression. I apologize to humanity for my actions. I apologize to the families of the dead for their loss. I apologize to the galaxy for the chaos my arrogance has caused. He bowed. It was not a small bow, not a nod of acknowledgement. He bent his tall body nearly in half, his metallic forehead almost touching the ground. The ruler of a 10,000-year empire, bowing to a species he had called children, the moment lasted 5 seconds. It changed everything. When he straightened, Yoon stepped forward. On behalf of humanity, I accept your apology. We do not seek revenge. We do not seek domination. We seek only to live in peace, as equals, among the great civilizations of this galaxy. She offered her hand. The Primarch looked at it for a long moment. Then, slowly, he took it. peace, he said quietly. If humanity will give it, I will take it. We will give it, Yoon replied, but we will never beg for it again. The broadcast ended. The Primarch returned to his ship and departed Earth without ceremony. He would abdicate his throne 6 months later. His dynasty ended by his own failures. The galaxy changed after that day. Human ships returned to alien ports. Trade resumed. Diplomats took their seats in the Great Hall of Station Harmony. But nothing was the same. Captain Shin Yoonji noticed the change most clearly. She had spent 10 years on patrol duty, watching alien ships cross through human space with arrogance and disdain. Now those same ships approached with caution. They followed protocols. They showed respect. 3 months after the acceptance, she encountered a Silith merchant vessel at a trading post on the edge of human space. The Silith captain requested permission to dock, using the formal language that had once been reserved for meetings. Between equals, Yoonji granted permission and met the captain in the station's common area. It was Counselor Yethrix herself, traveling incognito to see human space for herself. Your people, Yethrix said, her wings folded respectfully. We did not understand you. No, Yoonji agreed. You did not. The silence. The patience. The year of building while we laughed at you. Yethrix's compound eyes reflected the lights of the station. We thought it was weakness. We thought you were giving up. Many species have made that mistake, but you could have destroyed us. Yethrix leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. Your fleet could have burned through council space in months. Your weapons, the ones you built in secret, they were beyond anything we had imagined. Why did you accept peace? Why did you not simply take what you wanted? Yoonji was quiet for a moment, considering the question. She thought about Commander Otihi, who had lost her brother in the Outer Rim. She thought about Admiral Park Do-yoon, who had walked the halls of Station Harmony for 15 years, enduring insults he did not deserve. She thought about Ambassador Yoon Ji-soo, who had spent 30 years trying to make peace with species who did not want peace. Because destruction was never our goal, she said finally. We did not build our fleet to conquer. We built it to be heard. We built it because the galaxy would not listen to our words. Now they listen. Yethrix considered this. Your history is full of war. Your species has fought more conflicts than most civilizations have existed. I thought, when I studied you, that you were simply violent. We are violent, Yoonji said. When violence is necessary, when peace is impossible, when every other option has been exhausted. She smiled slightly. But we are not monsters. We do not enjoy destruction. We do not celebrate death. We fight because sometimes fighting is the only way to protect what we love. And now? Now that the galaxy has learned to respect you? Yoonji looked out the station window at the stars. Human ships moved through the darkness, trading, exploring, building new futures on distant worlds. Now we do what we always wanted to do, she said. We live. We grow. We create. We reach for the stars, not as conquerors, but as explorers. The war we prepared for never came. We are grateful for that. But you are still ready, Yethrix said. Your fleet remains. Your weapons remain. Yes, because respect must be maintained. Because the galaxy's memory is short. Because we will never again be in a position where our lives depend on the mercy of those who have none. Yethrix nodded slowly. I understand. I think, perhaps, I am one of the few who truly does. She rose to leave, then paused at the door. Your species has a saying. I found it in my research. Something about speaking softly and carrying a large weapon. Speak softly and carry a big stick, Yoonji corrected. Yes. That is the one. Yethrix's wings unfurled slightly. A Silith gesture of respect. I think the galaxy has finally learned what it means. 6 months later, Ambassador Yoon Ji-soo took her seat in the Great Hall of Station. Harmony is humanity's first permanent representative to the Galactic Council. The hall that had once echoed with laughter at human requests now fell silent when she rose to speak. She spoke rarely. She did not need to speak often. Her presence was enough. The empty chairs where humans had once sat were now filled. The The flags of 1,000 species flew alongside the blue and green. Banner of Earth, COUNCILLOR. Yethrix watched from across the hall. She had become something of an ally to humanity. One of the few aliens who had understood what was happening before it was too late. She caught Yoon's eye and nodded in acknowledgement. Yoon nodded back, her face calm, her eyes peaceful. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed it. Not through conquest, not through destruction, but through the simple act of refusing to accept disrespect. They had built their fleet in silence. They had prepared for war in darkness. And when they emerged, they had offered peace to enemies who had given them none. That was the human way. That was the lesson the galaxy had finally learned. If you want peace, prepare for war. If you want respect, earn it. If you want to be heard, speak loudly enough that no one can ignore you. Humanity had spoken. The galaxy had listened, and the dawn of a new age had begun. On Earth, Defense Minister Baek Suho stood at his office window watching ships rise toward the stars. The fleet he had built was dispersing now, returning to peaceful duties. The weapons he had created were being stored, not destroyed, but held in readiness for a future that might never come. His aide approached with the daily reports. The Council has approved all human territorial claims. Compensation payments have begun. Full membership has been formalized. Good, Suho said. Sir, some members of Parliament are asking about the fleet. They want to know if we should reduce our military spending now that peace has been achieved. Suho smiled slightly. It was the same smile he had worn a year ago, when the silence began. No, he said. We will not reduce our military spending. We will not dismantle our fleet. We will not forget the lessons we have learned. He turned to face his aide. Peace is not the absence of weapons. Peace is the presence of respect. The galaxy respects us now because we are strong. If we become weak, that respect will fade, and we will never be weak again. The aide nodded and departed. Suho returned to his window, watching the ships rise into the sky. Somewhere out there, among the stars, humanity was building a future it had earned through patience, preparation, and the simple willingness to fight for what it believed. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity would make sure it was never forgotten.